Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. We have lots of very interesting updates, and the most important updates are coming from the Borderlands. During the previous night, during the previous day, the Russians were trying to begin the greatest offensive operation in Sumy. For those purposes, the Russians concentrated significant number of forces somewhere along the border, but the Ukrainians discovered the Russian concentration of forces and start destroying the Russian vehicles on the way to Sumy area. First, the Ukrainians destroyed the truck in the head of the convoy. A few seconds later, the Ukrainians destroyed the truck that was in the end of the convoy. After that, the Russians realized that they were blocked on this road, and the Russians started regrouping, trying to stretch their forces between the tree lines, between the fields around the road. But the Ukrainians were using significant number of FPV drones. The Ukrainians were using reconnaissance drones, so that's why the Russians haven't managed to save even a single truck. Everything was destroyed on the way to Sumy area. So we see that this is very interesting video. First of all, the Ukrainians, this is the first case, let's say, case when the Ukrainians managed to discover such a big convoy on the borderlands and to destroy the convoy completely. Furthermore, the convoy was destroyed in the border with Sumy area, which confirms that the Russians continue concentration of forces. And another important thing is that, according to information we have, during the previous 24 hours, the Ukrainians conducted significant number of attempts to counterattack the Russians and to launch a full-scale counteroffensive with the purpose to force the Russians to fall back, not just in the vicinity of Sumy, but also in the vicinity of Kharkiv. After the Western countries allowed the Ukrainians to bomb the territory of Russian Federation, we start receiving significant number of updates of the use of HIMARS missiles. A few days ago, we got the video confirmation that Ukrainians were using HIMARS missiles with cluster rounds to attack Belgorod. Today, we got the video how the Ukrainians were using HIMARS missiles and destroyed some warehouse inside of Shebekino. The Ukrainians are saying that this warehouse the Russians were using for concentration and for collecting of ammo, but from my perspective, according to my understanding, that was just a regular building that was attacked by the Ukrainians, just to show that the Ukrainians do have this possibility to attack the territory of Russian Federation. Furthermore, we have continue receiving reports from Ukrainian sources that they're saying that another popular Russian military source claims that the defense forces are conducting counteroffensive actions in the northern phase of the Kharkiv region. So we have lots of updates. We received lots of updates of the same type during the previous few days, and we continue receiving them today. When talking about the situation on the ground, this morning, we also received report that the Ukrainians conducted a series of counterattacks and that they're currently counterattacking the Russians on the line between the towns by the name of Niskuchne, Veselye to the north in direction of Vovchansk. The Russians are saying that there are very heavy clashes, that the Ukrainians are using significant number of armored vehicles, including significant number of tanks. Before attack on Vovchansk, the Ukrainians were hunting and destroying the Russian ammo depots in the direction, and as a result of a few series of FPV drone strikes, few local ammo depots were first discovered and then destroyed as a result of Ukrainian strikes with FPV drones. Almost the same story is taking place on the line between Gluboko and Vovchansk. The Russians are about to finish regrouping. When talking about this direction, according to the Ukrainians, the Russians are planning to continue offensive operation with the purpose to answer Liptsi itself. The Ukrainians are saying that they finished regrouping and they managed to concentrate significant number of forces. So there is a critical mass of Ukrainians here, and most likely during the next 24 hours, there are going to be very heavy and very bloody clashes on the line between Gluboko and Vovchansk, and the most important that both sides, either the Russians and the Ukrainians, will attack each other. They're not going to be that somebody in defense and somebody in offensive state. Both sides will attack each other, according to at least updates we received from this direction. When talking about Vovchansk, we haven't received any updates regarding additional progress either of the Russian or neither of the Russians nor the Ukrainian side. We just have the videos of the consequences of clashes inside of the town. Most of the bridges, as you can see, were destroyed. Most of the town was already reduced to ruins. There are very heavy clashes, very heavy explosions, but yet the Russians haven't managed to bypass the citadel. Yet the Russians haven't managed to establish complete control over the southern industrial zone. Furthermore, due to absence of any updates confirming the Russian progress, we have adjusted the map and returned control over the industrial zone and over the most southern part of Vovchansk under complete Ukrainian control. Now let's move further to the south in direction along the line of of combat contact. We have additional updates from many directions. The Russians continue artillery preparation in Stelmakhovka. During the previous 24 hours, few very heavy explosions were spotted. The Russians continue hunting and preparing the village before final and grand offensive. Some Russian sources continue reporting that as a result of offensive operation, the Russians managed to improve their positions in the village by the name of Novoyegorovka, and currently this is approximately the territory that is already under Russian control, but without any geolocations or video proofs of that. Now let's move further to Chasiv Yar. There are very heavy clashes inside of the village, inside of the stronghold in the eastern part. Today we got additional geolocations and additional updates, map updates in the vicinity of Kalinovka. Different mappers, including pro-Ukrainian, neutral and pro-Russian mappers, continue coloring the territory under the color of Russian control. According to Syriac, the Russians control everything along Lisova Street. Some Russian sources are saying that the Russians managed to establish control also the street that goes a little bit on top to Lisova. Now the Ukrainians control just the farms, this area, but the Russians most likely are about to start offensive on this direction as well. When talking about the eastern Chasiv Yar, we have few important videos, few important changes on the map. According to information we have, the Russians managed to dig in deeper and to establish complete control over the, let's say, most eastern part of the eastern Chasiv Yar. The Russians managed to concentrate the critical mass, and now the Russians are about to begin a full-scale offensive further to the central and the western part of the eastern Chasiv Yar. From this area we have just one video of Ukrainian tank. This is Ukrainian tank. It's very short part, very short video, just few seconds. On this video we can see Ukrainian tank was attacking in the southeastern direction. So the Ukrainian tank was here, and the Ukrainian tank, according to that geolocation, was attacking the Russians in this direction. So most likely this part of Chasiv Yar is under complete Russian control. We haven't received anything from Klishchiivka, Ivanovska area. Few important updates are coming from Avdiivka direction. According to information we have, the Russians established complete control over the village by the name of Sokol. The Russians, as a result of offensive during the previous night, managed to force the Ukrainians to fall back. For now, we received this piece of news just from not 100% reliable resources, so we need to wait for a little bit more to get additional reports from reliable sources or to get some geolocations. The only geolocation we have from the territory is an attempt from the Ukrainian side to counterattack the Russian forces with Bradley, but the Bradley was discovered by the Russians, and as a result of counter-artillery strike or as a result of FPV drone strike was damaged and destroyed. So this is the only video, and obviously this video doesn't confirm that the Russians control the village, but very interesting update, and we need to follow this area during the day to understand whether we're going to get more updates or not. Now let's move to important things, some important political events. According to information we have, the second group of the French volunteers, of the French instructors, have arrived on the territory of Ukraine. A few days ago, the first group arrived, and today, during the previous night, during the previous 24 hours, the second group arrived as well. Currently, it's unknown the real number of French troopers on the territory of Ukraine, but obviously the number is increasing and increasing. Furthermore, we got some important updates from Germany. According to information we have, Germany allowed the Ukrainians to use German air defense to bring down the Russian planes on the territory of Russian Federation. This way, the Germany and France and the NATO countries and Western countries in Ukraine tried to reduce the number of Russian airplanes that Russia used to attack the energy facilities and military objects all over the entire territory of Ukraine. Furthermore, we got a very important statement from Ukrainian side. According to Ukrainian official statement, significant part of content about mobilization process in Ukraine are a part of a Russian psyop, and fake videos are filmed in occupied territory. Of course, everything may be very true, but for example, this video was made in Dnipro and video was geolocated. Obviously, the Russians didn't have possibility to send their filming group in this area and to make the video about mobilization process. Furthermore, we got additional details about Russian missile strike in the western Ukraine, and according to a number of sources, more than 100 NATO personnel officers lost their lives and wounded during the recent strike by Kinzhal hypersonic missiles on the command post on the territory of Yavorovsky training ground in the Lvov region. So as we can see, at the beginning of this week is very interesting. Most likely we're going to receive significant number of very interesting updates. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds you, you condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.